An XRP ETF. Yep, that's right. A spot XRP ETF, that is, which means actual XRP is being bought within an ETF, is actually in existence, and you might not know about it. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what XRP ETF actually exists, since a Bitcoin ETF is making so much headlines right now. I'm going to talk about the price movement that actually happened, when this XRP ETF was actually launched, where it was launched, how you can get your hands on it or not, and what the chances are of another XRP ETF actually getting started here in the United States. And the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, was recently on an interview with Fox Business Charles Gasparino going over a multitude of things. I'm going to cover several of those things today, in which he said, one of which talked about settlement. So I'm going to tell you what his thoughts are on settlement, and it's not the first time that he actually mentioned it. But I'm going to talk about the stipulations that he said he needs to accept a settlement from the SEC. And in other crypto news, since China banned Bitcoin mining, and everything related to Bitcoin's up 50%. So everybody say a big thank you to China. Now, of course, they're doing that because they're trying to enhance the value of their digital yuan, their programmable money that they want all of their civilians of China to actually use so they can, exert even more control. And speaking of Bitcoin, there is a lot of talk about how market cycles, when there is going to be a peak, when there's going to be a crash. And in my last video, I talk about a lengthening market cycle and actually why some of the data is actually pointing to that. Well, Pantera Capital now says they believe there's going to be a crash, but they have some interesting insights on what that crash is going to look like this time around compared to other Bitcoin market cycles. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we are covering the Ripple versus SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any of those topics interest you and you want to follow along, make sure you subscribe to the Late Night Grind. Also, don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so YouTube will send you a notification when I release a new video. And of course, I believe people in the crypto space are the most generous people on the planet. So if you are feeling generous today, I'd really appreciate it if you do two things. Number one, smash that thumbs up button. And number two, watch the video all the way to the end. It really does help out. Those are the two best things you can do to support a YouTube channel. So if you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, let's jump into it. So the first thing I wanted to mention today is actually the CEO of Pantera Capital, Dan Morehead, talking about the coming Bitcoin crash. Now, I don't believe it's going to crash from the point it's at now, but like many people, believe that the on-chain data and the technical analysis is pointing to a big parabolic move of Bitcoin price from now to the end of the year, possibly the beginning of the year, Q1, maybe even Q2 of next year, we will see. But regardless, there's going to be a pullback, a correction, a crash, whatever you want to call it. Well, Dan Morehead said because of the institutional interest in Bitcoin recently, as well as things like ETFs that were just announced and have started trading already, he believes that there is going to be more of a shallowing out of the market cycle crash compared to other market cycles. And the last two have had an 83% and 87% crash, respectively, in the last two market cycles. And so this is just what a lot of people have come to expect, and it more becomes an issue about actually timing the market rather than just being caught off guard and saying, why did Bitcoin lose all its value? And the interesting part about that is it actually fits in really, really well with the narrative or the idea that there is a lengthening market cycle, meaning there's going to be a much longer period of time for Bitcoin and the rest of the market to actually reach its peak before it has its crash. But it would actually make sense if it does that, probably going to be a shallower crash, in fact, a slower crash, a less violent crash than in other market cycles. And you could definitely point to things like institutional money being involved. There's going to be a lot less panic selling. There's going to be a lot more long-term holders that don't necessarily look at things like this, as well as ETFs where the people that buy that typically don't react to markets the same way that apparently crypto investors have the last two market cycles. But of course, he did say there's another side to that digital coin, and that is, he said it's unlikely that Bitcoin will see any 100x gains from its market low to its market high in coming market cycles. And moving on to Ripple, I wanted to talk about some of the things that CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, was talking about on Fox Business the other day with Charles Gasparino, because they were talking about a handful of different things. Now, most of the time, he was just kind of taking jabs and taking shots at the SEC for how they're really handling things poorly. Specifically, he called them out for essentially picking winners and losers in the crypto space. which a lot of people think he probably shouldn't have said that, except for some people say that the SEC picks winners and losers of many different industries and sectors just from their regulation standpoint. Well, in the case of Ripple versus the SEC is quite literally picking the winners and the losers. Just ask Ethereum. But he said the interesting thing about all that is, how comes Gary Gensler, the current head of the SEC, can't answer a simple question about Ethereum? Is Ethereum a security? And then they also followed it up by talking about how right now there's actually several different Ethereum ETFs waiting for approval. So if Gary Gensler is not going to give his definitive answer on whether ETH is actually a security, what are the actual odds of an Ethereum ETF actually getting approved? Now, maybe a futures ETF, kind of like the Bitcoin futures ETF that was approved, but actually a spot Ethereum ETF? Talk about putting Gary Gensler on the hot seat. And they also talked about a few different things, such as why the SEC is essentially picking Ethereum and Bitcoin as the winners when they are not as energy efficient as XRP, which, of course, he goes on to mention is many, many thousands of times percentage-wise more electric efficient than those two digital currencies. And another thing that Brad Garlinghouse was asked about, and this is the second time I've seen him give this answer, in terms of a settlement. Are they actually going to be going after a settlement with the SEC? Would they accept a settlement from the SEC? And of course, Brad Garlinghouse basically just said, we're never going to accept a settlement from the SEC unless it specifically says XRP is not a security and we know what clarity XRP has moving forward. So my question for you guys is, and let me know in the comment section down below, do you think the SEC would ever admit that XRP is not in fact a security? Would they ever admit that on paper in a settlement? My opinion, I don't think they would actually do that. And I think that Brad Garlinghouse knows this, and they're more than happy to just take this case all the way to trial and win in a summary judgment because they're confident, and if you're watching these videos as well as other XRP YouTubers, you know that this case is heavily weighted towards Ripple at this point. And of course, a summary judgment for Ripple would cause XRP to dramatically climb in value. There's so many things that would happen. I've made predictions on several of my other videos. A bunch of other people, if you're following the XRP community on Twitter or other XRP YouTubers, you'll see that there are some crazy price predictions out there. And I'm not talking about the $10,000 ones that they're really just conspiracy theories and don't really make a lot of sense. I'm talking about the ones that are actually 20, 30, 40, even $50 for XRP once they win this case. And they might have a good case for it because specifically I'm going to talk about the possibility of an XRP ETF. Now, right now, you may not know this, but in Zurich, Switzerland, there is an XRP ETF that was approved and listed, an exchange-traded fund specifically for XRP, for physical XRP, meaning if you're investing into that fund, you are actually causing that fund to buy XRP, which is why a spot ETF is much better than a futures-based ETF. You can go watch some other videos that talk about that relating to Bitcoin. In Switzerland is apparently the only place that you can get access to this XRP ETF. But I specifically wanted to bring this up because of the price action that it actually caused when it was launched. So this ETF was launched on 6 Swiss stock exchange, so it was officially approved and listed on April 14th. Well, if you go back and look at the charts on April 14th, what happened to XRP? Well, actually starting about a week and a half to 2 weeks before that, XRP was down at 55 cents. By the time April 15th rolled around, XRP was at $1.95. It nearly 4x just on the news that a Switzerland-based XRP ETF was going to be approved and launched. Now that's some serious price movement. Now Switzerland's not exactly a small country, but it's definitely not a big country. And so just that news had some major parabolic effects on XRP's price. Now what happened was it was actually making that move while Bitcoin was literally at its all-time high, or right within a couple of weeks of it. So unfortunately, XRP kind of stayed at that level for a couple of weeks to a month, and then it caught on, and then it pretty much did what everything else did when Bitcoin's price plunged in May, and it fell right along with it, along with everything else. But when you're talking about a future price prediction, and we live in a world where XRP has clarity, and the SEC is not trying to pick winners and losers and give free passes to other cryptocurrencies, imagine the price of XRP if this SEC case is cleared up, Ripple wins in a summary judgment and gets clarity that XRP is in fact not a security, but is a cryptocurrency or digital asset. Now imagine it gets relisted on 20 plus exchanges in the United States alone. That alone will drive massive, massive buying pressure. Now imagine a spot ETF is actually approved for XRP in the United States or even other countries that are simply scared to do so right now because of this SEC case. Multiple ETFs in multiple countries. Now you can see why people are starting to say XRP $30, $40, $50 is possible at some point after this case. Now, of course, we're going to be looking at different market cycles and how that might fit into the price of XRP along with other stuff. But in my opinion, this is one of the most fascinating stories to cover in all of crypto. So if you want to follow along with this and all the other cryptocurrency news, make sure you subscribe to Late Night Grind. And also follow me on Twitter. I will link that in the description down below. I retweet some information specifically about the Ripple and XRP case, as well as other market issues and things that are very newsworthy, so you can go and follow me there. So once again, thanks for watching all the way to the end of this video. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.